Well, hello there, Stacey Murphy here. So you've decided to grow your own superfoods right at home. That is awesome because they are chock full of nutrients. They're so fresh, fresher than at the grocery store because you're just picking it and taking it straight to your dinner plate. And of course, being connected to the plants, it's just magical and peaceful. It improves the longevity of your life. It just makes you feel so alive. And by the way, the flavor is phenomenal because you get to pick the kinds of varieties that you want because you're growing them yourself. So there's so many reasons to grow your own superfoods right at home. Congratulations. So what's your first step? So I wanted to share with you a guide, and it's called Superfood Gardening, Nourishment, Vitality, and Longevity, 12 superfoods that anybody can grow. And inside of the guide, you'll see 12 typical superfoods and the different reasons why you might choose some of the different plants to add them to your lifestyle. Because here's the deal. The difference between a thriving, abundant superfood garden and one that doesn't quite ever make it is essentially that it needs to fit your lifestyle, your needs, your desires, and it needs to fit your local conditions as well. And so I put together this guide to help walk you through the process to help you decide which plants are right for you and your superfood garden. All right, so let's get to it. I'm just going to walk you through the guide and then you want to download it and go deeper into this. All right, so basically there are 5 different reasons why you might choose one superfood over another for your garden. All right, and the first thing to consider are maybe there's health benefits that you want out of your garden. Maybe you're looking for a garden that is all about boosting your immunity and keeping you healthy during the cold and flu season. All right, so you might pick a bunch of medicinal herbs. You might pick things like garlic, or you might want to have an anti-cancer garden, and you might want to pick things that are chock full of antioxidants like blueberries and other things like that. So you get to decide which health benefits you want from your garden, and maybe you want a full spectrum. Maybe you want the whole thing, and maybe that's not the thing that makes your decision for you. So that's the first consideration. The second consideration is whether or not you have an inside or an outside garden. And so some people, they might not have space outdoors. And so if you have an indoor garden, you're probably going to start with things like microgreens or other greens or small herbs. And then if you can get outside, you might consider things like fruit bushes or sweet potato patches. All right. Those are things that are just a little bit too large. You can grow them inside. If you're really committed and you really love those plants and you want to figure out a way, you can make it happen for sure, but it's going to be much easier outside. So that's the second consideration. And then the third consideration is how big your space is. And for those of you in urban spaces, I totally get it. I have lived in urban spaces my whole life, in small spaces. It's what my specialty is. And so if you have larger spaces, you can grow things like fruit trees, and blueberry bushes, things that take up a little bit more space. But if you're in the smaller spaces, you're going to stick probably to those similar things that you could probably grow indoors as well. You could grow things like lots of greens, lots of microgreens, lots of garlic, ginger, turmeric. Those are all things that are small, medicinal herbs, all right? And then the fourth category or consideration that you want to take into account are your local temperatures and any other climatic conditions like drought, high altitude. Those are all considerations, all right? And here's the cool thing about superfoods is that whatever superfood you want to grow, there is usually a variety for your local conditions. So don't let your conditions hold you back. Pick a variety that works for your local conditions, all right? And then the fifth consideration is yield. And so for some people, they want to make sure that they get a lot of yield. And by yield, I mean a lot of harvest. So there can be different yields. There can be beauty. There can be just the process of gardening. The love and joy of gardening can be a yield itself, that you're adding more life into your everyday busy schedule. That can be a yield. But for most people, when they hear the word yield, they think about how much harvest they're going to get. And so things like greens and herbs, those are going to be really high yielding. But then things like turmeric or ginger, those are plants that they take longer to get a yield. You might get a big yield if you have a really long growing season, but if you have a short growing season, the yield might be smaller. So that's a consideration. If you want a lot of harvest, you might stick to certain plants over other plants. And then, so the guide, I lay this all out. So go ahead, download your guide now, and you can see there's 12 typical superfoods there, those 5 considerations, and how the different superfoods compare. And there's also special notes for each one of them as well. All right. So go ahead, click the link and grab your copy. And I also look forward to seeing you at the Superfood Garden Summit, where this is just the first step, this guide. And from here, join the Superfood Garden Summit. Master gardeners from all around the world are going to show you exactly what to do to grow these, all the best tips, what to avoid, all the pitfalls to avoid, and they're going to make it super simple walking you through the process, all right? So this is just your first step to getting started, and it's to prepare you for the event, because the event is going to be 4 days of awesomeness, and I want to make sure that you get the most out of the event. All right, so grab your guide, download, make sure you're registered for the Superfood Garden Summit, and I look forward to seeing you there.